Let's talk about that time that I texted a guy, "I miss you," and his response was okay. My sister has an embarrassing and hilarious picture of me after I sent that text because I looked so upset by the response.
Okay, cool. I want everyone that posts online to actually be honest. How many times after you post a video, you tell yourself, let me check the views? You could post something you're actually proud of, and then you close the app, and then 5 minutes later, you tell yourself, let me go check the views. And the thing is, nothing's really changed, but somehow your mood's changed. And then you start refreshing again and again, like your phone owes you some validation. And it's actually mad because 10 minutes ago, you actually liked what you created, but now you're questioning yourself. Like it was the same video, the same you, but just different numbers.
Isn't it amazing how quickly your mood changes when they text you back? Your mind goes from a funeral to a house party in 2 seconds flat, and the only thing that has materially changed is that a contraption in your pocket buzzed against your thigh. It happens so quickly, it's like the hope gets injected back into your veins. The trees look greener, the faces around you look less hostile, and the air fills your lungs a little bit deeper, all because of a single goddamn text message.
You know you shouldn't check their social media, but you do it anyway, multiple times a day. Here's the psychological reason why your brain can't stop. Your brain releases dopamine every time you check their social media. It's the same chemical as what's involved with a gambling addiction. So the whole reason that you're hooked is because you're experiencing intermittent reinforcement. For the same reason a slot machine can have that addictive effect, it's the same thing with their social media. You log in, sometimes something's there, sometimes not. Sometimes it means something. Maybe there's a secret meaning to what they post, or maybe it's completely innocuous.
Picture something ordinary. You post a photo, nothing major. Maybe you pretend not to care. Maybe you even put your phone down like you're above the whole thing. Then 10 minutes later you check. Then again. Then once more. By this time you tell yourself it's only because you were already holding the phone anyway. A few likes come in, a nice comment, maybe a message from the one person you were secretly hoping would notice. And suddenly the day feels better. Not fixed, just softer. That shift is the part worth paying attention to because almost nobody wakes up and says, I want to become emotionally dependent on outside approval. It's subtler than that. It starts with little moments of relief, little doses of, okay, I still matter, okay, I still register, okay, I'm still wanted, still visible, still here. Nothing about that sounds dangerous at first.
If someone's constantly asking for reassurance in the relationship, this is what you need to know. Number one, this is their trauma response from their fear of abandonment. The reason why they're constantly asking you for reassurance is because they want to make sure that you're not mad at them, that you're not losing interest in them, that you're not interested in someone else. Because if these things were to come true, they think that that's a higher probability of you leaving them. And that's why they're constantly asking for assurance, because your assurance validates them. It makes them feel as if they're enough. Because they're not placing their worth within themselves, they're placing it within you. So if you think that they're enough, then they're also worthy of love.
They left you unread, but you're checking if they watched your story. Then checking again. Your brain has 3 mechanisms driving this insane behavior, and the third reveals why their name appearing feels like an addictive drug. First, hierarchy monitoring. Your brain needs to know where you rank. Did they ignore your direct message but consume your public content? That's data about your social position. Your brain is calculating whether you're worth a private response or just public consumption. You're not stalking, you're measuring rejection severity. Second, intermittent reinforcement schedule. Sometimes they watch immediately, sometimes after hours, sometimes not at all. Your brain interprets this randomness as a slot machine. Every time you check, you're pulling the lever. The inconsistency makes you more addicted, not less. But the third thing, when they watch your story but don't reply, your brain creates a phantom connection. They saw your life. They know what you're doing. You're existing in their awareness. Your brain counts this as intimacy, even though it's literally just them tapping through stories while pooping. How many times did you check today? And did you post a story specifically hoping they'd see it? Yeah, I thought so.
How do I know whether I'm dating for love or validation? I want you to think of the last person you were really into, and I want you to ask yourself, were you thinking about who they are, or were you thinking about whether they wanted you? If most of your mental energy went to, do they like me? Are they going to choose me? Are they going to leave me? What do they think of me? Then that's validation. If it went to, do I like spending time with them? Do we want the same things? Do I feel good around them? Then that's an actual connection. And so the question isn't, are they choosing me? The question is, am I choosing them as well?
You don't want love. You want to feel chosen. You want to feel picked. Why is that? Okay, why is that? Why does that happen? I've got a degree in cognitive neuroscience. I study this stuff for a living. Here's exactly why. Somewhere along the way, a part of you learned that being chosen, being picked, equals being safe. And not being chosen equals abandonment, invisibility, or emotional danger. So now you chase the feeling of being picked and chosen like your freaking life depends on it, okay? Because it did at one point, probably. Here's the part that you don't want to hear, though, okay? It's not that you want him. You want the version of you that exists when someone validates you. Let that sink in, okay? You want the hit of I'm wanted, I'm special, I'm finally enough for someone, I matter to somebody today. And it makes sense, okay? Especially for ambitious, hyper-capable, independent women, okay? You grew up earning everything, okay? Approval, attention, love, praise, all of it, affection. You weren't given safety, right? You had to perform for it. So now your nervous system is addicted to the moment that someone chooses you because it feels like the one moment you can finally relax, not because you trust him, but because you don't trust yourself without external confirmation. And here is the cruel twist, sadly, okay? The men who make you feel the most chosen, the fastest, are usually the least capable of actually choosing you in the long term. Yikes. That's why you confuse intensity with intimacy, chemistry with compatibility, being wanted with being valued, okay? Because your system isn't scanning for love, it's scanning for relief.
The weird thing is validation doesn't always feel like praise. Sometimes it feels like stabilization. A reply shows up and your chest loosens. Someone compliments you and whatever low-grade doubt was sitting in the background goes quiet for a minute. Somebody watches the story, likes the post, tests first, flirts back, chooses you in some small visible way, and the whole system inside you settles down as if it had been waiting for that exact signal. It isn't just vanity. Vanity is too shallow a word for what a lot of people are actually using approval for. They are using it to regulate, to soften insecurity, to interrupt self-doubt, to break the feeling of drifting around unnoticed. And because those little hits are scattered everywhere now, the dependency can hide inside normal life. Checking views starts feeling routine. Waiting on a reply starts feeling normal. Feeling low when nobody reacts starts feeling embarrassing. So people keep it to themselves. Meanwhile, the pattern is getting stronger.
Am I the only one who does this yet? When you post on your story, and then what you're posting is for one person to see. It's probably someone you hate or someone you like. And you just keep on going back and forth to see if that person viewed it. And then once that person views it, your mind just goes, now you can calm down, you can breathe.
Have you ever had a reaction that you were like, okay, that was a little bit much? Your partner sent you like a short text, but your whole body was like, okay, cool, we're being abandoned. And now you're spiraling, you're over-explaining, you are maybe also getting a little bit pokey, a little bit sharp. Well, here's the part that needs to be broken down so people understand better. This is your nervous system stacking data. So yeah, it is this text, but it's also like the last 10 weird interactions. Every time you felt dismissed, like in your life, plus your own history of not feeling chosen. And that hits all at once. But it also means that we cannot use the intensity of this feeling to bring full validity that is coming just from this one moment, this one text.
I used to be so anxiously attached, and I've explained this so many times. I'm super secure now, but I used to send texts like this all the time. In this case, I had texted this man one too many times.
The part people don't like admitting is that validation can quietly replace self-trust. That's when the whole thing changes shape. Once your moon starts leaning too hard on reaction, your inner life becomes easy to shake. A dry phone can throw you off. A flat post can sit in your chest like a verdict. Even good attention doesn't really solve much because it fades too quickly. The reassurance lands, then evaporates, and now you need another dose to feel steady again. So the day starts getting organized around possibility. Maybe someone will text. Maybe this will do numbers. Maybe they'll notice. Maybe this time the silence won't feel so loud. That's not confidence. It is dependency wearing the clothes of modern behavior. And the reason it gets mistaken for normal is simple. Nearly everybody is performing some version of it. Some people do it publicly. Some people do it with more pride. Some do it quietly and hate themselves for it. But the hunger is everywhere. You can hear it under half the internet.
Here's a little brain dump about self-worth being contingent on what other people think of you, from a trauma therapist while I wait for my next client. This has been coming up a lot with my clients lately, and I feel like there's a lot of talk about self-worth being contingent on achievement and work output. The perfectionistic, anxious girlies will get that, but less talk around when your worth is contingent on how you think other people view you. And as with a lot of things in the trauma space, it's about learned safety. So if you grew up in an environment where love, connection, security was inconsistent or not there, it then became really imperative that the people around you were happy with you. And getting approval from other people meant that you remain safe. And so what happens over time is that your sense of worthiness becomes externalized. Am I liked? Am I needed? Are they happy with me? Becomes more important than what I think of myself. And what this often looks like is being really attuned to feedback, to potential criticism, hyper attuned to people's moods or changes in what's going on with them. And am I annoying them? Are they okay with me? Are they mad at me? People pleasing, huge, and real self-sacrifice tendencies of putting other people's needs above your own to make sure that they're happy, because if they're happy with me, then I'm okay.
No amount of reassurance is ever going to reassure you enough, right? And even if you're with an avoidant partner, which sometimes is too easy, because we can just blame them for feeling the way that we feel, because we can say, well, they don't meet our needs. But I've seen this, and I'm sure that even if you've been with a secure partner who reassures you to death and tells you that you're amazing, that they love you and they're always going to be there for you, there on some deeper level, there's some sort of trigger that makes you feel that you're not good enough, and a deeper fear that you're going to sabotage the relationship.
If someone doesn't text back for 3 hours and your brain spirals, there's a childhood reason why. Because when you grew up with conditional affection, you became a human lie detector for emotional temperature. You learned to read every single cue. Are they smiling or flat? Did their tone shift? Are they quieter than normal? Because as a kid, those cues told you if you were emotionally safe or about to be cut off. And now, as an adult, a short reply feels like rejection. Or silence feels like abandonment. Or someone being distracted feels like you did something wrong. So you became an expert at reading people's moods because your safety depended on it as a child. This is called hypervigilance to rejection cues. And it's not you being too sensitive. It's your nervous system doing exactly what it was trained to do. So here's how you reframe it. Not every silence means rejection, and not every short text is coldness.
There's a kind of loneliness inside this that people don't always talk about clearly. Not the loneliness of having nobody. The loneliness of not knowing whether you still feel real when nobody is reflecting you back to yourself. That's why silence can hit so hard. It doesn't just feel quiet, it feels personal. Like the room stopped confirming your existence for a second and your whole body noticed. Then the habit starts building around that discomfort. You react for the phone before you reach for your own thoughts. You pose because you need a pulse back. You flirt because being wanted feels medicinal. You keep weak connections alive because weak attention still feels better than none. And none of this makes nobody pathetic. It makes them human in an environment that has learned how to monetize that exact weakness. Breaking it is difficult for the most boring reason imaginable. The alternative is stillness. And stillness for someone used to being emotionally propped up by response, it can feel almost physically wrong at first.
How I stopped needing constant reassurance in my relationship and finally felt secure. I used to need constant reassurance from my partner in my relationship. And now I can confidently say that I have a secure attachment. I feel calm. I feel confident in my own self, in my own skin, in my mind, and in my body, all the things. And I no longer second guess everything. Let me tell you how I changed everything. 4 years, I was that person who needed my partner to constantly reassure me that they loved me. I overanalyzed every single text, every pause, every shift in their behavior, every shift in their energy, and every shift in their tone. I felt panicked if they didn't respond fast enough or if they just seemed a little bit distant. I questioned whether they actually wanted to be with me even when nothing was wrong. I thought that I just needed more proof. I thought that I just needed more certainty, more reassurance, more. But honestly, the truth is, when I really zoomed out and looked at what the problem was, I just didn't trust myself. I had trained my brain, probably from my past relationships, my childhood, but I had trained my brain to believe that security in my relationship came from the other person, from my partner, instead of myself. Instead of trusting myself, I would seek validation before actually expressing how I felt. I would worry if they weren't overly affectionate that something was wrong. They just like weren't into me anymore. And I would truly panic and overthink the thought of being too much or not enough. It's like I couldn't find like stable ground. So I'm gonna give you 3 ways that I stopped needing that constant reassurance and built that true, real security in my relationship. 1, I stopped making my partner responsible for my emotional safety. If I felt anxious, instead of looking at them to fix it, I would work on self-soothing and self-trust. The less I needed their reassurance, the more that I actually felt secure in our love. I started checking my own thoughts before I went down that spiral. I found myself thinking, what if they're just losing interest? What if they don't love me anymore? What if they don't want to be with me anymore? I stopped and asked, do I have actual proof of that thought? Or am I projecting my own fears? 90% of the time, I was just making up worst case scenario. Okay, I was. Lastly, I reprogrammed my nervous system to feel safe in love. Because the truth is, relationship anxiety isn't just in your head. It's in your body. The body keeps the score. And until you fix it at that nervous system level, you will always feel anxious in love, no matter how much reassurance you get.
The hardest thing to do during the day is learn how to sit with yourself. It is incredibly challenging to dedicate time to sitting with yourself, who you are as you are right now. And one of the reasons for that is it's because you're fighting your own nervous system. If you are somebody who operates in a state of high anxiety or high stimulation, if you are somebody who struggles with overstimulation, you might notice that sitting quietly makes you really uncomfortable. It can feel like this state of like, I just don't want to be here. I just don't like the silence. I don't like the peacefulness. It just really makes me uncomfortable. So learning how to sit with yourself is not only an act of getting to know yourself, but it's also an act of learning how to regulate your nervous system. Doing so for a few minutes every day, maybe start with 1 minute and then work your way up to 5, you might notice that you're breaking through not only the sense of discomfort that you feel sitting in silence, but you're also working through the fear that can come up when we're given a chance to get to know who we are.
Who are deeply insecure have an addiction, and that addiction is validation. And as long as you are validating and feeding the narrative that they want to believe about themselves or their world, you're great. But the moment that you set boundaries for yourself, the moment that you ask questions or give any pushback, that's when you have a problem. Because those people are more loyal to the sense of validation than they are to you. So they will go to the next person who validates them. They will seek relationships that increase their level of validation. And you can often be left by the wayside because of it. Because their loyalty is not to you, it's to the sense of validation. And this can leave you feeling betrayed. It can leave you feeling hurt. It can leave you feeling confused, angry, all of those things, right? Because whether this is happening in a friendship or a romantic relationship, you're thinking that your relationship is based on something solid, and it turns out that it was based on whatever narrative they needed to feed. And then it makes you feel like a supply versus a person. And it's a terrible gut-wrenching feeling. And the only way to really protect yourself is to have healthy boundaries in any of your relationships from the very beginning.
Being seen is a human need, no shame in that. But somewhere along the line, a lot of people stopped wanting to be seen and started needing to be confirmed. Confirmed that they are attractive, that they are interesting, wanted, remembered, confirmed safe. That's a heavy job to hand over to replies, likes, views, and random people with short attention spans. Nothing stable can really be built there. When you strip it all down, what are people looking for now? Connection, or just proof that they still matter to somebody? Tell me honestly in the comments, and stay with The Ugly Truth for more conversations about the emotional habits modern life keeps disguising as normal behavior.